Second. Okay, so I'm going to let this run for a minute here. The main reason that this was the first match where I was like, man, I really think I should show. I really think I should stop this here. Okay, so the first round of this league was against Burn. And it's a little atypical in that it was playing Vexing Devil. But I'm not showing you the deck just because it was... Whew. You guys don't know this, but this is like the third time that I'm going to actually have recorded this for you guys. I was just going to do this really quickly, but I've had these... Twice now I've had these errors where recording got paused and then never picked up, and I didn't realize it till I was stopping recording. So I kind of don't want to do this again, but I'm going to give it one more shot. Okay, so the first opponent in this league is going to be Burn. And this was the first match in which I thought to myself, man, this is some non-traditional stuff going on here. It might be valuable to actually replay this match, or potentially the whole league, because it would kind of be a shame not to show the viewers some of the crazy stuff that happened. Now, I had two reasons to think at this point that this was maybe a budget or just non-traditional Burn list. The first was Vexing Devil. It's not that Burn lists haven't run Vexing Devil, it's just not something that's usually done. Some of the lists that do are budget lists, but that I had no reason to think anything crazy yet. Shrine was also interesting. Now, decks have run Shrine in the past. They just haven't done so recently. But I thought, again, maybe it was just another budget Burn list. Shrine's not terrible. It kind of gives the Burn deck some inevitability. And if you don't have a main deck way to remove Shrine and you're a slow deck, then eventually they'll just get enough counters on it and crack it and deal lethal damage to you. So that's just kind of where I was at. Now one small note here. I would like to be able to... I try to use mana leaks as quickly as I can against Burn. It's sometimes tempting to think, oh, I'm going to hold it for Boros Charm so I can trade my counter magic for their best Burn spell. But just the way you beat Burn is by trading cards for their cards and preventing them from resolving so they don't do damage, or killing them before they can attack you so they don't do damage. But if a Burn, if you path a couple of things and a Burn opponent ever gets like 4 lands in play, it can be really difficult to mana leak things because their spells are so efficient. That being said, our opponent did play a second spell, which we happily mana leaked. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with this Vexing Devil, but I drew another Path to Exile, so had an answer there. And I went ahead and pathed the Vexing Devil, and then fetched up a Sacred Foundry, and played a Kitchen Finks. Now, I knew I was going to be playing the Kitchen Finks potentially into like a Skullcrack, but I couldn't really worry about that because our opponent has this Shrine. Eventually, the Shrine's going to kill us, so we really needed to just get on the board and try to kill our opponent as quickly as we could. Now, this is where things actually just got weird. I really didn't expect to see Ensnaring Bridge. Clearly, our opponent's doing it probably for Eldrazi, but there's sort of a combo with Shrine here in that if our opponent can't kill you quickly with Vexing Devils and Grim Lavamancers, rather than die to your creatures, he can just bridge up the game, sit behind this bridge, and wait for the burn spells that he casts and the upkeep triggers to make Shrine of Burning Rage have enough counters on it that'll eventually just crack it and kill you. So this put me in a kind of worrisome spot because eventually, like now I can't kill him, and eventually this is just going to tick up and he's going to kill us. However, this particular version of Jeskai, Kiki, Resto, whatever, has some interesting... it has access to some interesting things that allow it to do stuff that most Jeskai lists wouldn't be able to do. Now I decided to go ahead and path the Vexing Devil, but the Vexing Devil wasn't doing anything, so I maybe didn't need to do that, but I did. And there I cycled Electrolyze against our opponent because I realized I was going to have to draw something if I was going to win this match. Here I think I opted to go for Snapcaster Mage Electrolyze again, just trying to draw into something. And so we actually drew a Kiki Jiki, and this is where I realized that we had a chance. We're going to be able to basically if we could start copying Kitchen Finks once a turn, we're going to gain a guaranteed 2 life. Now, if he plays a burn spell and hits an upkeep, then this goes up by 2. So he keeps pace with our Kitchen Finks. But I knew there was going to be some turns where he would draw, where he would basically draw just a land, so the shrine would only effectively go up 1 counter, in which we would go up 2, because we're gaining 2 life. So eventually we'd be able to slowly pull ahead. And my idea was, well, I should probably try and get a Restoration Angel in my hand so I can save the Kiki Jiki from a removal spell. But I believe on my next turn I was like, well, I'm just going to have to just go for it. Like, Shrine's going to keep ticking up, and if he has an answer, he has an answer. Didn't seem like he did, though, so I was happy about that. I decided to condemn the Swift Spear because there just wasn't... We didn't have a bunch of great blocks outside of maybe copying a Kitchen Finks, but I wanted to start copying Kitchen Finks at his upkeep, because I figured if this ever gets close enough, I want to be able to do it before he draws a burn spell. Now, this was there was a couple of small mistakes here, both parties. I was happy that I drew the Restoration Angel because I thought, okay, if he ever draws a removal spell, then I can save the Kiki Jiki in response with the Restoration Angel. Now, when our opponent fired this lightning bolt at us, I was like, that's kind of odd. Why wouldn't he kill Kiki Jiki? But the thing is, the shrine is now at 15, so he's going to bolt us to 16. So if this resolves and he has another bolt, then he can instant speed respond to anything we do, bolt us, and then crack shrine, and we're dead. So what I should have done here when he was shooting the bolt at us and not Kiki Jiki was immediately copied Kitchen Finks. I opted to let it resolve, which again, like I said, I think it was a mistake. And my thinking was, okay, I'm just going to copy the Kitchen Finks, and if he responds, I can respond again at instant speed with Restoration Angel. So, minor mistake, but I did have a way out of it, and it doesn't look like he had anything anyway, so... So this basically went on for a while. I started copying Kitchen Finks at his upkeep at some point, in case he drew a removal spell. Now this is another interesting piece of technology that he's implementing. He has an Ensnaring Bridge in play, which means nobody's attacking. However, Goblin Rabblemaster makes a bunch of 1/1s. So he can at some point have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or however many Goblin tokens it is, and when he draws a card, whether it's a land or a burn spell, all his goblins get to attack. Then he plays the land or shoots you with a burn spell, and now none of your creatures can attack. So this is really his plan B of winning the game, which is, like I said, sit behind the bridge, have a creature that he can still attack with, at least with the tokens, and then also just sit behind the shrine, and eventually this will get big enough to kill you. But we were able to utilize Kiki Jiki and Kitchen Finks to stay ahead of this, which I always find it kind of interesting when the deck does something that the Jeskai decks I usually play wouldn't be able to do. It kind of, because it has these cards like Kiki Jiki and Finks and Splicers and various other things, you can sometimes like just generate a lot of value over time, which is what we did, and dig yourself out of situations that you otherwise would be dying in. So I was still up for copying Finks. Shrine is at 19. We're only at 21. So I needed to spend some turns copying Kitchen Finks to try to get ahead of the Shrine. See, he drew a land there, so we gained 2 life, and he only effectively did an additional 1. I knew at some point I was going to have to kill this Rabblemaster because it was, again, going wide. I'm able to make a good number of blockers, though, so... Our opponent here did something I thought was weird. He attacked for really no benefit. I was able to kill all of his blockers, which just sets him back. And he's going to have to start accumulating tokens again. And here, I probably just should have shot the Rabble Master so it was gone, but I decided to go towards our opponent's face. I copied a Restoration Angel to blink a Snapcaster Mage. But I realized this essentially was my road to victory. I needed to stay ahead of the shrine with Kitchen Finks, and then copy the wall to draw burn spells to kill our opponent and flash them back with Restoration Angel. Okay, so one Rabble Master seemed manageable. Two Rabble Masters, however, that is actually kind of a problem. So I believe on the subsequent turn here, I actually was like, okay, I need to start copying Wall and not Finks. I'm far enough ahead of the Shrine of Burning Rage, and I need to get rid of these Goblin Rabble Masters. So then I realized, okay, I was glad to do an Electrolyze. I'd be able to kill the Rabble Masters with Electrolyze. I did make a small misplay in that, I wasn't sure. I knew I was going to kill a Rabble Masters. I just, I wasn't sure what he was going to play, what was going to happen. When he played Shrine, I realized, okay, the other thing I probably can't beat is two Shrines in play because he's going to get guaranteed to do 2 damage per turn. We're only going to probably be able to gain 2 per turn. In some instances, he's going to gain more than that if he plays a burn spell. But here, I really should have just Electrolyzed the Rabble Master, copied a Snapcaster Mage, and Electrolyzed the other one. There was no reason to let him hit his attack step or to hit the beginning of combat and make more Goblin tokens, but for whatever reason, I let him do that. It was just minor misplay, giving him extra value that I didn't need to. Thankfully, Electrolyze also does kind of cantrip, not kind of, but it does cantrip through our deck, gets us closer to trying to find more burn spells. We do another Kitchen Finks, which just lets us gain a little bit more life. We are at 34 life, and his Shrine is at 28 counters. That Shrine is going to do 28 points of damage. Again, I said that I don't think I can beat 2 Shrines, so I copied Wall to see what I drew, decided that what I needed to do was Snapcaster Mage, Spell Snare the Shrine. Pretty long game. Eventually was able to use the card advantage engine of Kiki and Wall of Omens to, I think, find a bolt, and then I found another bolt. And that there carried us home. So we'll just let this finish out really quick. Opponent decided to shoot our Snapcaster Mage. I have no idea why. I think I copied that very Snapcaster Mage to flash back more burn. And then just used Kiki on the last turn to copy Snap to flash back the bolt. And that did it for game 1. I will see you guys in game 2. Okay, so this is the second round of this atypical burn deck. Small misplay there. I remember thinking, Dragon's Claw? Sure. I really just should have bolted the Dragon's Claw, or bolted the Vexing Devil with bolted the Vexing Devil. I can't talk. Bolted the Vexing Devil with the Dragon's Claw on the stack. But this matchup was so weird, I just was like, what? And let it resolve. And then bolted, which it's a very small mistake. He just gained 1 life, but still. No reason to let that happen. I was really wanting to hold up Negate for an Ensnaring Bridge at this point. Because I knew that we had the combo, and if we could get enough lands in play, then we could eventually play a bridge. But I didn't really have an answer to the Goblin Guide, so I decided to play the Wall. And then this happened. And I was like, what? Koth? Okay, so now I have to beat this wonky, crazy burn deck and get rid of that thing. Because the other thing that we're probably not going to be able to beat is a Koth ultimate and having him tap his mountains. And he also played Relic, which could be, problematic to our game plan. Yeah, here I decided to just let him attack, and my plan was to block the mountain, and then blink the Wall of Omens and attack Koth with Restoration Angel, and then finish Koth off with a burn spell. But our opponent was very much interested in protecting his Koth, and our Restoration Angel did not make it. Our opponent's going to be able to ultimate next turn. Koth ultimates for only 5. So I went ahead and upkeeped. I went ahead and shot Koth at upkeep. And again, here the issue with Shrine. I decided to go ahead and negate, knowing that I could still just kill Koth even if he plussed it. I used a Path on his mountain, which just sort of, it's definitely card disadvantage, but I didn't want to take the additional damage, and I'm just turning it into another mountain. So this, I think, was basically just play Finks and then upkeep, kill Koth. I didn't even have to wait for his upkeep, but I just do that a lot. And then he played an Ensnaring Bridge, so this whole song and dance continued. And now he has a Relic in play, which is an issue. I went ahead and played our Kiki Jiki so that we can start the value train going. And then he played this, which is clearly an answer to our Kiki Jiki, which is our way to dig ourselves out of this situation. And we have a Snapcaster Mage, but he has a Relic, so I was really hoping that at some point he might crack the Relic and we'd be able to get rid of the Goblin Guide, but thankfully we just drew a Bolt and we were able to get rid of it and keep the value train alive. He drew another Grim Lavamancer, and we're still in the exact same position. But when he went, he obviously had the Grim, but he wanted a cantrip and draw another card. So with this on the stack, that's when I Snapcaster Maged to flash back a burn spell to kill the Grim Lavamancer to make sure that our Kiki Jiki would live. The Dragon's Claw was annoying. I realized, well, our out here is we're going to have to find the Wear Tear that I boarded in and just go infinite, because it's going to be really hard to kill him with burn if he's gaining a life every time that every time I play a burn spell. So I was able to start drawing 3 cards a turn with Desolate Lighthouse and Wall of Omens. And like I said, I was really just trying to find the Wear Tear. Obviously, I was trying to find an Angel and trying to find Wear Tear. Anger wasn't very good here. Anger can be awesome in our deck and also kind of go against our strategy, but I think it's something that we need for decks like Melira. Still trying to draw more cards. This lock is, at least in our deck, is a lot less scary without the Shrine. Rabblemaster could be a problem, but I didn't even wait around this time. Just decided to kill it. So there's the go infinite piece that we need. But I still need to find that Wear Tear. I didn't have to play at some point. Well, let's see. I think at some point I played the Resto and I didn't necessarily have to, but I was just trying to draw as many cards as possible. Down to 17 cards in our library. Oh, I know what it was. At some point, I was like, okay, I'm just going to play the Restoration Angel to blink a Wall of Omens because now I have a negate, and I felt like I could protect Kiki Jiki and Restoration Angel from any removal spell he might draw. The other Kiki Jiki is redundant, but I'm not going to discard it just in case Kiki Jiki does die. Down to 12 cards in the library. Trying to find the wear tear so that I can close this game down. And like I said, I'm never going to be able to burn out my opponent when he's at 37 life. Finally found it. Felt pretty confident. I'm having a negate, a dispel. Let him, take his turn. This is not working right. It is not turn 3. Then on turn 20 something here, I was able to kill a bridge, copy a snap, kill a bridge, untap, go infinite, and beat the opponent. So I'll go ahead and just accelerate this here because there's no reason to watch me do the whole thing. But I overkilled the opponent. I felt like, all right, I got a minute here. I'm just gonna just really smash him in. And it's funny because he even took a second to line up his blockers. But yeah, so interesting game, and interesting especially in that I think a lot of Jeskai decks would have had trouble digging themselves out of this situation. Now, I don't know, like I said, I recorded this more than once, so I can't remember which video I said this in. But this kind of thing is one reason that I've always wanted to run 1 or 2 cryptic commands in the Geist's lists, because Blue doesn't have access to Abrupt Decay. So because Jund is able to run 2 or 3 or 4 Abrupt Decays, they have the opportunity to deal with permanents that are problematic. For a blue deck, it's much more difficult to deal with these kinds of things with our main deck. And Cryptic Command is sort of a catch-all, meaning if you have one Cryptic Command and there's one permanent that you can't win the game because it's on the battlefield, at least Cryptic Command gives you a way to return it to their hand. So in theory, some of the Jeskai Kiki control lists could potentially bounce the bridge and then go infinite, but we were able to dig ourselves out in a more interesting way. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I know some of you may not like the replay version of the video, but this isn't something I'm going to do every week. I'm just, like I said, there were some really interesting things that happened, like this match, that I wanted to showcase in this league. So I decided for this week I'm just going to go back through this league. I will see you guys tomorrow. Draw well, smash face, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.